Good morning. Here we find ourselves in South Africa. What looks like a very pleasant sky is in fact turning into be something of an irritation. It is now starting to rain. My name is James Hendry. Hello, it's very nice to have you with us. We will be joined by the Masai Mara as well later on today. We have got two other people out here at Djuma. We've got Scott, who's going out on foot, and Tristan, who I suspect is rushing home to put his rain cover on, which is what you are going to do with us now. We came out, it was the most gorgeous day, and now suddenly thunder is all over us. Lightning is striking various parts of the ground, and we're going to go and have to put our rain covers on. There are impala, zebra, wildebeest on quarantine clearings. So I'm sorry for the slightly rushed and frenetic start, but we've been hit quite unawares. Please do talk to us for the course of the next 3 hours or so. Hashtag Safari Live is how you do that on Twitter. Otherwise you can use the chat stream on YouTube. We're just going to, I think you can just stay with me. I'm going to ask the tech team meet us down at the garages immediately, please. You might just have to watch us put our roofs on. I do apologize for our lack of preparedness today, but it was really quite pleasant when we set up this morning. Anyway, that is the way of things out here. There goes the talk. Scott Dyson giving his strong opinion. It's not anything usual. We are going to put on the roof. Alright, apparently Tristan has no rain where he is. We're going to go across to him while I put my roof on here.
Good morning, everybody. I hope that James gets back to safety without getting too wet. As you can see, we've had a few little droplets on our dashboard, but it seems to have bypassed us. We're trying to head south and away from the rain. Whether it's going to work, I'm not quite sure. Now, my name is Tristan. On camera today, I've got a Fergus, and, well, the plan for this morning is just to try and find anything, really. I was trying to head to the west to see if we could find any sign of the Nkuhumas. They've been on 2 buffalo kills on Simambili, and so I was hoping that they may just push back onto our side. There was also, I believe, a pride of lions just north of Sydney's Dam, the Talamati pride that was on a buffalo kill, and the Torchwood pride has also been around. So lots of lion activity in our general area, and so hopefully somewhere on the northern boundary or western boundary we will have some of our tawny cats coming back. Failing all of that, well, then we'll just go and scratch around and see. Maybe we get lucky with Tundi. She gave us the slip yesterday afternoon. We went back to look where she was yesterday morning, and we had tracks moving about, but we unfortunately did not find her. So that's going to be the plan for the morning. The other plan is to try and stay as dry as possible. Now, to all of you that let us know about the thunder and lightning on the dam cam, thank you very much. The rest of you, you can be interactive as well, so use hashtag Safari Live or YouTube chat if you want to get hold of us. Right, Ferg, let's keep going south, because otherwise this big black cloud on my right hand side is going to actually hit us and going to cause a bit of damage. That's what is coming towards our area, although it is very weird because it's a sort of a sliver that is coming this way. To our south, north and our east we have a situation where it is all fairly clear and fairly open, so I think we've just got to avoid this one little patch of rain. Hopefully that's the idea anyway, and once that patch of rain goes, then we should have a situation where it should be okay and we shouldn't get too wet. But the problem is that we obviously don't want to risk any of our equipment, and so if the rain does start to fall a little bit more than what it is right now, then we probably would have to be like James and rush home for a roof. Either way, it's going to be a beautiful morning. The sunrise has been spectacular. Ferg and I have been talking about the cloud formations this morning. There's been some incredible cloud formations, and in fact there is a cloud behind me which I want to try and show you guys. So I'm going to do a very fancy turn here. Hold on, Ferg, I know it's not great, but it will illustrate the point that I want to illustrate shortly. We're just going to go this way. So through the gap over there is the straightest cloud I have ever seen in my life. So on the top of the tree line you'll see that there is a little small kind of line of clouds that is almost like somebody has taken a ruler and cut those clouds and made it absolutely straight. Isn't that amazing? So how that forms, I'm not quite sure. It's always a mystery and a marvel to watch clouds in formation and see how they go, but that line runs quite far, actually east-west, and it is as straight as you could possibly ask for from a cloud. Isn't that cool? I think it's cool. I mean, it's not the best thing I've ever seen in my life, but I think it's a pretty cool thing to see. And like I say, the formations this morning are pretty spectacular. The problem is the wind is kicking up, but the nice thing is actually that the wind is blowing the opposite direction to the rain, which is a very good thing, because maybe it's going to blow that storm away from us and we'll have a dry morning, because at the end of the day a dry morning is better than a wet one. Right, well, it's not just myself and James out here from Djuma this morning. We have a third member to complete the man team. I'm not sure if James has shaved this morning, but maybe if he hasn't, then we'll have a bearded trio that is out and about. But let's go see what Scotty's up to and where he's off to.
I just shaved my armpits this morning, nothing else, and I'm looking forward to this morning out on foot with all of you guys. It's a very moody morning, as I'm sure you've all realized. My name's Scott Dyson. I'm teamed up with Herbie, an expert tracker, and our plans are to head south in the hope that we'll find a four-legged animal with lots of spots called the leopard. So that's what we're hoping for, and we haven't found a leopard yet on foot, so we need to kind of break the curse, because at the moment all we've managed to find are elephants and a lot of small insects and bugs, and it's been incredibly wonderful, but we need to try and find some big cats. So that's what we are hoping for, and that way we'll be able to call Tristan and James in, and they'll be able to get you some closer views with the vehicle. So that's our plan. It's a very windy morning, which, as you can see, the ash from my bag is getting taken away at a high speed in a southwesterly direction, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. In very windy conditions, it will allow us to creep up to animals. It's the same as hunting conditions for predators. When it's windy, it allows them to creep up closer to their prey, and it also allows us to creep up closer to our prey, although all we're wanting to do is shoot them with the camera. I'm teamed up with Davy. We are a team for the upcoming Big Cat Week special. Just a once-off TV show, but then I think in February we'll be doing a few more, and I'm loving being teamed up with Dave on camera at the moment. He's walking backwards and making it look easy, all whilst carrying a camera. Now, we've also got the parrot cam today. Let me show you guys the parrot cam. We've rigged up a little camera onto Dave's shoulder so we can work a few different angles. So that's the parrot cam. It's a new addition to our backpack, and that way we'll be able to get some footage of Dave filming and possibly me in front with, who knows, maybe some elephants, maybe a leopard if we get lucky. So playing around to get some fun extra shots. Now, what was interesting, we've had a tiny bit of rain, which I'm sure you've gathered from James and Tristan. There was also quite a lot of thunder and lightning earlier. So let's hope... Oh, there's a rainbow! Awesome. I don't know if you're going to be able to get it, Dave. You can see it vaguely there. So that's confirmation that it is in fact raining, because without rain you cannot get the rainbow. Joshua, you would like to know which of the spotted kitties could be around today. Shadow, Tundi's tiny baby, who we've only seen once, Hosanna, Mvula, Tingana, and one or two other random stray cats could be around, but at least 6 leopards could be on this property. It's unlikely that all 6 of them are here at the same time, but they do all traverse onto Djuma, and they come and go. The females' territories aren't as big as the males, Tingana and Mvula. Hosanna, because he's a young male, is lurking around in quite a small area, and I'm hoping he comes back onto Djuma. I'm told he's very relaxed if you do find him on foot, and that's hugely useful, and that's because of the time that a lot of the guides spent with him and trackers spent finding him on foot whilst he was growing up. So he's quite well habituated to being seen by humans on foot. He's not hugely nervous of us, which is very, very useful. Very often leopards will just slink off or hide from us when we're on foot, but not Hosanna. So he would be probably my first choice. Also looking forward to spending some time with him. It was actually 2 years ago nearly when his mother led us back to her den site for the very, very first time. I didn't get to see him, but I knew it was the den site, and it is the same den site that Tundi is now using to raise her little furball, of which we know there's at least one. Hello, Dina K. You would like to know if Herbie's also got one of these ash bags. No, he doesn't. He's got a built-in weather system, unlike me, so he doesn't need one of these. I think, you know, just like everything in life, Dina, certain people like certain little gimmicks or things to help them go about their daily business. I'm trying to think of a good example, but I'm blanking. But you know what I mean? There's, you know, if in terms of sports, there's different equipment you can use. And watch out, Darby, got a bit of a trip hazard. So some people don't like to use the ash bags. I'm not sure if Steph uses one. I love them. I feel incredibly safe with this, and I'd feel more safe with this sock filled with ash than I would with a rifle. And isn't that interesting? And it goes to show how important the sense of smell of these animals is, and how important it is that we avoid being detected by their sense of smell. And there have been a lot of situations, mainly with approaching elephants, that if I did not have this bag of ash, I would have definitely moved out of the area, because it's just so difficult to tell exactly what the wind is doing. But with this little tool, you feel a lot more confident, and it is very, very effective. Good, Dina. Okay. We are now going to send you off to James. We're going to continue our march south to the southern boundary to see if we can find any tracks of leopard coming in, or hopefully, ideally, we'll find some tracks of leopard along the way. But for now, over to James.
Right, there we have the rainbow, I believe, that you saw earlier, and I seem to remember from my primary school biblical studies that the rainbow was supposed to indicate the end of the rain. I think that's what old Noah sort of took from it as he was floating on his ark, containing 2 of every single species of animal in the world. Must have been a fairly big craft, one would think. Anyway, I don't think it means that today. I think it means the kind of swirling of a storm around here. We have the roof on, so should the rain come down, we can just put the flaps down and then we'll hunker down and we should be okay. Isn't it interesting, as I point out the area that the impala have disappeared into? All of the ones that were on quarantine have now headed out into this woodland. There are some there, and please do excuse the poles from the rain cover. They're heading out into the woodland to start grazing as the light comes up. But I was going to say, isn't it interesting how it almost always rains in the afternoon in the Mara, and out here it's quite often the early morning that we get rain in, sometimes late afternoon, but very seldom do we go out in the afternoon in the sunshine and get smashed by a storm. We see them building, but they normally come much later, which I think is quite interesting. You might find it completely boring, but I think it's quite interesting. Okay, let us continue. Now, Kobe, you have a request, and you would like to see a spotted hyena, Kobe. Well, I tell you what, we pop over to the spotted hyena den. Kobe is the first in with a request. Your request shall become our command, and we'll head to the spotted hyena den, which is not too far from here. And then we'll make a decision from there. I'm really a little bit in 2 or 3 minds as to what to do this morning, so we'll start doing that. While we do that, however, let us head across Tristan.
Well, James, good luck at the hyena den. I wish you well, and I hope that it is active and everybody is bouncing around like hooligans, as only hyenas can do. We're sitting on Zoe's Road and just absolutely admiring the magnificence that is the sky today. I know I was talking about it just now, but it is absolutely beautiful. There's been these random clouds that have just popped up, these really thick, dark grey bars that have just kind of appeared out of nowhere, and it is incredible to watch how much wind is actually blowing at the moment, because as I've been sitting here, hang on, why are these guys running? There's 2 kudu that are just running past us all of a sudden, and they've kind of come out of the bush and they're not barking, which is interesting to say the least, because kudus generally don't move, and the only thing that they run for like that is wild dogs. So I wonder if maybe the dogs are not around. Let's have a little sit here for a bit, because they came out of the right hand side, and if dogs are chasing them, then they should just appear in front of us effectively. You can see there is a bit of wind that is blowing, which is what I was alluding to earlier, and that the clouds are moving quite fast. What have you seen there, Ferg?
Nothing.
Nothing. You're just looking and checking. Well, I wonder, maybe these dogs are around. Like I say, there's kudu are still running, so I wonder if there isn't something here. I do see some tracks on the road that I want to quickly have a look at and just double check what they are. They look very hyena-like to me at this stage, but let's just double check. Yes, no, those are nothing to worry about at this stage. I wonder why these kudu are running. Maybe it's worthwhile just going back the other way. The thing is that they're not barking. So if it was a leopard or lions, you would find that these guys would just let out a couple of barks once they stopped running. But the fact is, these kudu came bounding out of here, stopped, looked back in this direction, and then carried on running. So normally that indicates a predator that is quick, that is agile, and the only one that we really have in this area that runs after animals and they don't alarm call for is the wild dogs. Now we know the dogs have been around quite a bit, so maybe it's worth just checking around slowly and just seeing. I might just stop here and do a little loop back and go onto that new road near the repeater, because that's where they've come from, and that's not exactly very far from where we are right now. Either way, it's an exciting start to our morning, and who knows what could be around. Maybe it's just crazy kudu that are deciding, because it's overcast and cloudy, that it's a good day to run around like hooligans and just throw us off our game altogether. What do you think, Ferg? Do you think they're having us on a little bit of a prank that the kudu is playing this morning? Some cheeky kudu. Mischievous faces. They didn't they? I mean, we have to be a bit careful of the cheeky kudu, or the mischievous kudu, should I say, because they can be misleading. Snazzy Vet, you're wondering if low clouds are common in South Africa. So, I mean, I suppose yes, as common as they would be in any other sort of areas. Not as common as England, no, you're right, Fergus, that's very, very true. Both Fergus and I have lived in England, and we know that the clouds there do get as low as any place in the world and tend to stay there. But we do get low cloud. It depends obviously on weather conditions and things like that, but we have had a few days recently where the clouds have been kind of stacked right above our heads and have stayed there for a number of days. So we do get low cloud cover. Mostly though, our rainfall comes in the form of big cumulonimbus clouds that are quite high up, and they get these big thunderstorms and anvil heads. So I mean, low cloud is maybe not as common as like we say, as some of the other parts of the world, but we do get it, yes. It is something that is not kind of, we're going to see it and go, oh my goodness, that is something very new. It's not rare, but it's also not typically our rain clouds. Trista, you're wondering how risky it is. Sorry, Ferg, I just want to see what this bird is. Trista, I'll get your question now. Oh, it's just moving too fast. It looked like a steppe buzzard, but it just came flying over, and I'm looking for a Lana falcon that I keep seeing when we're off air around quarantine, so I just thought I'd have a little quick look there, but it's not the Lana falcon. But Trista, bushfires at this time of the year, not common at all, and the reason why is because we've had too much rain now. The grass is too wet, so even if there was a fire, it's not really going to catch and go for a long period. Our extreme sort of periods in terms of fires is anywhere from around August through to the end of October into November, depending on how dry it's been and if we've had any rain. So that's normally the worst times for bushfires in this particular area, and the times that you've got to be a bit careful. So now we don't really have to stress as much, given that, hello kudus, you guys are back here now. How did you get here? You see, they've come in a big circle and they don't look comfortable, do they? They are very alert, ears are up, they seem to be a bit twitchy, and there they go off galloping again. So these guys, I wonder where they're going and why they're so twitchy. I'm sure we can find out. Let's go and investigate. I feel like there could be something in this area. They keep staring towards the Gari repeater, and maybe there's something something that's moving around in that particular section. I haven't heard any alarm calls while we've been sitting here. We watched that sunrise for quite some time, but no alarm calls. Now, there was a bird of prey in this big marula just now. Is it still there? No, it's flown off. So there was also a bird of prey around. It's all happening. I feel like I've got a bit of squirrel syndrome this morning, because I keep kind of thinking and seeing things and then getting a bit distracted. So I'm going to have to focus quite heavily now and start trying to actually look for what the signs are showing us. Right, now while I try and see what's causing my kudu to be a little bit on the spooky side, let's go to James Henry, who I believe has made his way to the den, and maybe he'll get some spooky calls of the hyena cubs.
No spooky calls, I'm afraid. All I can hear at the moment is the wind in the leaves. The smell of hyena, which is a little bit between sort of wet dog and carcass. That's basically what I can smell. It's not a... Right, it's climbing onto the lens. Anyway, the den appears to be unoccupied today. Just holes in the ground. And another hole to the right-hand side, which may collect the pole on your way through there, but I don't know. There we are. So, I don't know what's happened to these hyenas. I haven't seen them here yet since my return from the Masai Mara in Kenya. So that's a bit sad, really. Cheetah writer, I'm just trying to understand here. Confirm the question, Nicola. What be the danger? Trying to tame a wild animal? What would be the danger to try and tame a wild animal to be able to pet it? Well, the danger is, of course, you might have your head bitten off by something like a hyena or a lion. Cheetah writer, basically it's not possible to get close to a wild animal unless you seriously subdue it, starve it to death. Almost to death, basically, and then feed it again. Is impossible. And I mean, I don't know that because I've done it, but because I've read things. A wild animal, which you should never do, because inevitably so if you, for example, find a lion cub and you raised it up, oh sorry, our signal's going, apparently we're going to go to Scott. I'll finish that thought later.
Hello everyone, you caught us there midway trying to sneak into a position where it would have looked natural if we were sneaking up to this track. And what I'd like to do is show you how important early morning sunlight or afternoon sunlight is when tracking. Essentially, when the sun is above us at midday shining straight down, it doesn't cast any shadows on the tracks. But if it's pointing to the east, kind of sideways, like it does in the late evening, or to the west in the early morning, you will see exactly how it illuminates tracks. So now my torch is simulating midday sun. You cannot see anything on the ground below. But as the sun drifts down to sunrise, you will now see how this track begins to pop out. And this is the track of a honey badger. Quite a tricky track actually. It can be confused with a porcupine. Here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 front toes, and they've got an interesting back pad that's built up with a few little pieces, and then a funny kind of a dew claw at the back where there's that little depression there. So the toes on front. The fact that my left hand fits into those toe prints indicates that this is its left paw prints. If I try and put my right hand in, my fingers don't fit very well into where those 4 toes are. So you can tell left foot from right foot, and you can even tell back foot from front foot, because most 4-legged animals' front feet are bigger than their back feet. The reason being is because that's where the bulk of the weight of the animal is. The head, the shoulders, the heaviest parts of the body is in the front. Therefore, the biggest limbs are in the front, or at least the biggest prints are in the front. Now, interestingly, I've had a few honey badger sightings on foot here on Djuma, and who knows, hopefully this morning we will get lucky. It's always very exciting. You've got to kind of run after them, unless of course they've got no idea you are there. Wonderful. Hi Kathy, you would like to know how much exploring and fun do we get up to out in the bush when we're actually not on drive? And it depends on the time of the year. Summer can be quite tricky because it's very, very hot in between drives in summer, although of course you can go out after dark if there's any kind of confirmed sightings, and we do try as much as possible to take out staff members like the people in FC or the tech crew who do not have the privilege of going out as much as us. So we do get out quite a bit, taken a few night drives so far to show some of the stuff, some animals in confirmed sightings after drive, but winter tends to be the best time to play around in between drives because it's nice and cool. So we do get out and about quite a lot. It all just depends on how busy we are and what kind of the aim or goals are at any given time of the year. If we're heading up to a kind of TV show, we'll be out often during drives trying to track down animals to ensure that we have content for the very important TV shows that we do. So yeah, we do get out quite a bit. So yes, it's a lot of fun taking the other staff members out on little joy rides, and now we've been quite busy, so we haven't been doing too much joyrides, but after the TV show on the 15th, I think it is, in a few days' time, we will be definitely going out and exploring and having some fun on our own. Good stuff. Now, I'm wondering if Tristan's had any further luck with those twitchy kudu he was with, so why don't you go and ask him how he's getting along.
Unfortunately not, Scotty D. We've driven around the backside now of that area where they ran from, and I can't find any tracks, so to speak. It's not a great light for tracking, particularly with a car. You can see I've got my headlights on at the moment, just trying to actually give myself a bit of light. Now here are some different kudu that are a little bit more relaxed than those ones we saw just now. So I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't found any signs of anything that would indicate that there is something around. It's just that their behavior is so strange. It's very seldom you're going to see a kudu come running along out of a bush area into an open section if something isn't wrong with them or being chased, or they're being chased. Cheryl, are you saying why is barking important? You don't understand why I would say that when the kudu is running. It's not so much when the kudu is running, but remember with any of these animals, generally when they see a predator species, they are going to bark an alarm call to warn everybody else that they've seen a predator and to try and tell everyone that there is something there. So they're basically warning each other and the rest of the group that they're in that they've now spotted danger and to be careful and to look and to pay attention. So kudu will bark for leopard and lions because they also then want to send a message to that predator that I've seen you, you're no longer camouflaged, you're no longer hidden, don't worry about me, and kind of, you know, and that I know that you're there. And that means that they often lion and leopard just move off and pretend like they were never doing it in the first place. So when they don't bark, it generally is a sign that they are being chased by something that moves too fast for them to actually stop and sit and bark and make a noise at and actually tell them, because they know that if it's something like, let's say, wild dogs in this case, that's chasing them, if they're going to start barking, they're going to have a situation where they're going to probably be dead before they even finish their bark. Whereas with lions and leopards, once they start barking, that tends to deter them from actually even chasing them. So that's why the bark is important in determining which predator could be around and why it kind of gives us an indication of which predator is there. Hopefully that's a little clearer, and hopefully that helps you to understand why I was talking about the barking itself. Now, sorry about that big turn. The kudus were naughty and went behind us rather than in front of us, and that means that Ferg had to do a little pirouette on the back. Ferg, very nice pirouette. That was very good. I would suggest next time try and use a tutu. Sky, you say I am the best at sussing out spotted kitties. Well, I don't know. I seem to be going through a bit of a slump at the moment. I haven't really been finding too many of the spotted cats. I've kind of been, we've seen them, but I haven't really been finding too many of them, so I'm going to have to up my game a little bit. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's as long as we're seeing them and everybody else is at least getting to see them through all of the guides that are out here, it's always good. And as I've said many times before, is that I've just been lucky over the last few months in a lot of respects, is that, you know, it's been dry and also, you know, there's just been an element of luck in bumping into some of these animals as we go. Anyway, we'll try and find a spotted cat at some point during this morning. It would be nice. And while we kind of look for our spotted cats, somebody else who's had a bit of luck with the spotted cats recently is that of James Henry.
We have here an eagly. It is not a true eagly, it is a snake eagly. How do I know that, you say to me? I say to you, well, I can see that it has no feathers on its leggies, and therefore it is not a true eagly, and the only bird that looks like that is the black-chested snake eagly, and so that's what we have over there. It looks relatively similar to a martial eagle on first sighting, but it is much smaller and it has no feathers on the legs. And just look at those clouds speeding past from the west there to the east. They are going. I was just saying what a wonderful time lapse this would make to Seb. So if you were to shoot this scene and provided the bird sat there for long enough, you would have a wonderful shot of the clouds going past at sort of 3 or 4 times the speed they are now. He's also got very distinctive yellow eyes, which you can just about see there. Very nice, and he's just holding on to his perch in the wind, and it always amazes me, you know, when I see birds sitting in the wind like this, how it is that they remain upright in a wind like this, and also it amazes me that they choose to sit in such exposed places, despite the fact that there are much more sheltered branches on all those trees. Now, Debbie, you're what looking at the clouds there and thinking to yourself, do you get tornadoes in South Africa? The answer is very infrequently. Tornadoes, as far as I understand it, and again I may be wrong here, need very flat ground. That's one of the conditions that they need in order to form, and the gentle undulating topography of the low-veld here, I think, preclude their formation. But we do have some flat parts of South Africa, like the Free State, which is the sort of middle breadbasket of the country, if you like, and they sometimes get tornadoes. And then about a year ago now, I think it must have been, there was a tornado that ripped through the western parts or eastern parts of Pretoria. And that was very unusual because that's relatively hilly country. I suppose the northern parts of Pretoria are quite flat as they head up towards the Limpopo province. But they had a dreadful one that ripped through a township area there last year, sort of shanty town, and you know, it always seems to be the lot of the poor that they get affected far more by these things, and it tore up their shacks and left the relatively salubrious neighborhoods of Pretoria unscathed, and unfortunately it tore through that township area. Very infrequent though in South Africa. We do, of course, in terms of large weather patterns, get things like cyclones that hit the Mozambican coast off here, but no, we don't get them. We don't even get cyclones in South Africa. So, you know, actually relatively calm weather-wise. Scott has discovered some tracks of cows that he would like to show you.
Yes, they're not the moo cow, they're the buffalo cows, and it seems like we found tracks of a herd of them. Now, what's interesting is that there haven't been many buffalo on Djuma for the last few months, and furthermore, what's really exciting is that these buffalo tracks indicate that they were running. And usually when buffalo are running, they are running away from something, and when they are running away from something, 9 times out of 10, they are lion. Tristan's not too far from us here. He's found lion tracks, interestingly, heading in the opposite direction to them, and now the lions are possibly heading back into the area where they came from. So, exciting prospects, and I'm hoping with a little bit of luck, we are going to find some big cats on foot. Of course, that's unless Tristan beats us to it. Either way, if that is the case, we are happy. The main thing is that we want to find some lion to show you. And again, I feel hugely privileged to be out on foot with Herb. He is an absolutely incredible tracker, and he has a absolute fountain of knowledge. No, possibly, but he's a very, very clever man when it comes to spending time on foot. In the meantime, though, we're going to send you back to Tristan, who can show you some of the lion tracks, and hopefully it won't be long until we find them.
Indeed, Scott, so we are not very far from where Scott is at all. In fact, we're a little bit south of them at the moment, and there's tracks for a whole pride moving along the main road going in an easterly direction. I've also just heard elephants that are going crazy to the north of us, trumpeting, and seems as though maybe they could be chasing something, but you can see there's a number of tracks here. So which pride it is, I'm not quite sure. It could be Sticks, it could be Nkuhumas coming back from the western side. Either way, I'm pretty sure that these lions are on the trail of these buffalo, and so I'm going to follow these tracks to the best of my ability and try and see if I can find them. Maybe this is why the kudu are running. Maybe these lions have found themselves and secured themselves a tasty buffalo snack somewhere around here, and that's why the kudu have run away, is from that area where the lions were. But those elephants trumpeting, which is just to the north of me at the moment and pretty close to where I would imagine Scott and Herbie are, maybe they've picked up these lions and just giving those lions a bit of a chase. Elephants will often do that, and they do make a lot of noise when they find lions. So what we're going to do is we're going to follow the tracks, and then we're going to come around, and hopefully these tracks are going to bend around towards where we think those elephants are making noise. Either way, it's going to be worth following and having a little exercise in finding them, which is, it's all very exciting because I haven't seen lion tracks in quite some time. The problem is it's right on our southern boundary, so it could go either way, but exciting nonetheless. Now, while I head off towards these lion tracks, let's jump all the way across to the Mara with Miss McCurdy.
Is live and interactive, and you can hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can also talk to us via the YouTube chat. On that happy note, we're gonna keep moving. How cool is this? They graded the road yesterday, which was amazing. So this road is so nice and smooth. After all the rain that we've had, it really eroded it quite badly, and it wasn't pleasant to go down. But now it is absolutely lovely. It's like a highway. But we won't be driving fast on it because otherwise we'll just wreck it all over again. The only thing that I do hope for the maintenance team that spent the whole of yesterday from sun up to sundown fixing this is that we don't get any more torrential downpours, because all that's going to do is it's going to completely wash the road away again. It's a never-ending process, road maintenance. I'm kind of glad I never got into that. I have to learn it as a guide, but it's not something that I think I would like to, you know, sort of have as a career. We'll stick to this though. Now, plans for this morning. We're going to be heading towards the marsh breakaways to see if we can actually get a view of those tiny little nuka. Woo, hello, that's a bit slippy. Wow, okay, that's quite nice. We could have lots of fun here. And yeah, so that's our plan. And we're also going to be playing Word of the Day, so keep an ear out for what could possibly be the Word of the Day. Tristan and I will be playing, and I'm not sure if Scott's going to partake or James, but we will give it a bash anyways. Tristan, however, in South Africa has not found lions, he's found another cat.
We have indeed. How cool is that? Look who's just popped out right in front of us. So we were following leopard tracks, and as I'm looking down on the road, Fergus says, no, there's a leopard in front of you. And so there is Mr. T himself that has just popped out of Little Gowrie and is crossing northwards onto Djuma, which is absolutely fantastic. He has got a bit of a limp on him at the moment, so he's looking a bit battered, but that is okay. He'll, I'm sure, be absolutely fine. It's not the worst limp I've ever seen. In fact, it's much better than we've seen from even the likes of Shadow, who's far better these days. So he'll recover from that, no doubt. Why he's got a limp, I'm not quite sure. We know that Tingana does often go after big prey items, and so it could be from that. Also, with all these new male leopards that are around on the western side, he could have had a bit of an interaction with one of them. And, well, you know, it's a hard life being a male leopard. Sometimes you get a situation where you do get into a fight and you get a little injury here and there. But you can see he's marking heavily, so he's marking all over the sides of the road, brushing his face into the bushes with that gland, spraying his urine as he lifts his tail. So he's making a statement that this is my area, and it's the first time I've seen Tingana on this side in quite some time, and so I'm glad to see that he's here. The reason why I'm glad to see that he's here is because if he's doing this, he is protecting this area and keeping Tundi's little cubs safe. At the end of the day, we know that that cub is going to rely heavily on Tingana's influence over the next little bit. Now, as we drive past this bush, it's just this big waft of popcorn as we go past. I love that smell. Whenever you smell it, you know that you are not far from a leopard, and so I'm super glad that we've managed to catch up with Tingana. What a stroke of luck. It was just completely by fluke that he just crossed out in front of us. Like I say, we were still busy with lion tracks and we were following those around, and they most definitely are chasing the buffalo, and they went into Little Gowrie, it looks like. What is that over there? Hold on, I might have just seen something else. I just want to have a little look. No, it's just a stump, don't worry, Ferg. Sorry, there was just a light colored thing lying there, so I thought for a second maybe our lions weren't actually too far. Now what I'm going to try and do is just position myself a little bit better, but it's going to be a bit close to go that way, so I'm going to go around quickly. So for those of you that don't know who Tingana is and who Tundi is and why I'm talking about all of these things, well, Tingana is our dominant male leopard. He is the leopard that has been in charge of this area over the last few years, and he really kind of has taken control over this section. Lately though, he's been getting pushed by a couple of other individuals and a couple of other leopards that are moving in and young males, and so he's had a tough time of it. But he's recently fathered a cub with a female called Tundi, and we're super excited. We've had one brief glimpse of that little cub. It has just kind of shown itself with Tundi, and it was a situation where, because it's still very small, we've had to close the den area and keep it safe from that section and make sure that nobody's kind of getting too much pressure on that little one. So that's why we ended up leaving it, and why we ended up in a situation where we haven't been going back to the den just yet. We will start opening that den fairly shortly as the cub gets a little bit older, and so we'll have a situation where we hopefully will have a long period of seeing that cub, and that's going to be very heavily reliant on Tingana staying in this area and keeping this area as his own. But you can see he's still limping a bit. Like I say, that limp will be okay. At the end of the day, we'll have a situation where he'll probably be just fine. But there we go, he's just going up the road and moving northwards towards, well, deeper into Djuma, which is fantastic news for us. Hopefully it means that he's going to be still here. Right, now I'm going to carry on following him. While I do that, I think we're going all the way back up to the Mara. I'm not sure who with though.
Still with one of the most fascinating scenes I have ever witnessed in my long time in the African bushveld, and I'm going to explain exactly what's happening shortly, but it is very, very interesting. My name is Brent Leo Smith. We are live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. We're just going to focus in on the cheetah because this behavior is absolutely fascinating, and it's not something you see too often. So yesterday we thought that they were maybe fighting over a female in the morning. Now, since I've come back here, that cheetah there, that one there, his name is Mooji or Moogie, or depending on how you pronounce it, and it is a male. He used to be part of a two-male coalition that was in this area before the Musketeers. Now, there are 4 Musketeers here, and poor Moogie, or Mooji. The other Musketeer is off mating. Now, the fact that there was a female in estrus might have attracted him, but they have been now attacking him since yesterday morning. But it's been quite interesting. It hasn't been as aggressive as you would think, because the Musketeers have been rumored to kill another male cheetah before. But so he's got 4 versus 1. He was born in 2014, so he's about 3 years old. And the Musketeers, no one's 100% sure of all their ages. The one Musketeer actually came in from Sopa in Tanzania, and the others, no one's sure. They're waiting for the genetics results to come back to see what the relations between the 5 are. Now, Jamie is to the south of us, or the southwest of us, looking for the last Musketeer who's got a female apparently, and they are mating somewhere there. We're going to stick with the battling boys with poor Mooji. Listen to those sounds. Remember, if you have any questions, hashtag Safari Live. This is really, really rare behavior. Now, when I left here last night after the private rehearsal, I was wondering whether Mooji was going to try and make a dash for it during the night. Because as it got dark, he was starting to get attacked quite intensely. Now, what is also happening is that during these fights, the Musketeers are also fighting with each other. There's Mooji, depending on how you would like to pronounce it. That scratch wasn't on his nose last night, was it, Craig? That looks like a fresh scratch on his nose. Stubby has asked a very good question. Any chance that they will let him join? Well, I was chatting to Elena, one of the cheetah researchers, yesterday, and she's saying, well, the attack isn't too aggressive. Imagine that. Imagine 6 males, not 4 or 5. So it's possible. I don't think so. I think it's a bit late in the game. I think if he has the opportunity, he would just want to get out of dodge, because he has been attacked from 4 sides at occasions. And as I say, that scratch on his nose is new. It wasn't there yesterday. Oh, it's quite strange. You get sort of moments of peace as well during this, where they all sort of lie quietly very close to each other, and then something just sparks them off again, and it's hissing and growling and purring and yelping and chipping and chirping. Now, I've heard some noises yesterday and even this morning already with these cheetah that I've never heard cheetah make before. So this is really, really very, very seldom recorded behavior. So they are in the exact same spot where we found 2 of them yesterday morning, and then D'Artagnan was on his way here, and then after drive on our way back, D'Artagnan and another one of the Musketeers met up, and so there were 3 versus him, and then on our way home in the dark last night, we found a 4th on its way to this area. Obviously, the sounds and commotion will attract the other cheetah. Now, Michelle's saying, well, if there's a chance that they will kill him, why doesn't he run away? I think if he runs away, Michelle, he'll be more exposed, because at the moment he can use the bush to sort of protect some of his sides, whereas if he runs and he's got 4 males after him, the likelihood of him being able to make good an escape is very, very slim. Thought he might try use the cover of darkness to aid his escape, but unfortunately he didn't. Now, the interesting thing is they're all quite hungry, but this is taking up all their attention at the moment. It's one of those moments of quiet now. This is very, very interesting behavior. Nice and chilly this morning as well. There we go. One's sneaking a bit closer. Okay, while it's all calm here amongst the cheetahs, let's go say good morning to Jamie, who's looking for the missing musketeer and his girlfriend.
Good morning, and welcome to the Sunrise Safari. My name is Jamie, and this morning, Jahawi is on camera with me, and as Brent has already told you, we are on the search for the last musketeer, which sounds like a book title. Sounds like a very good book title. But we have been distracted completely and utterly by this truly bizarre wildebeest, the last wildebeest remaining, I think, on the plains of Balloon Crossing and around this area. And I'm not entirely sure what he's up to. Possibly looking for his friends, because he's run up and down this particular spot about 5 times while we've been watching him. He's very confused. Very, very confused. And Jahawi and I have come to an interesting conclusion, drawn largely from the inspiration of Sir Terry Pratchett and a camel, whose name I cannot say, that wildebeest are in fact not nearly as silly as we think they are. They are in fact the world's greatest mathematicians. It's just that we can't communicate with them, and that's why, you know, like professors who don't quite live in the same world that we do, and so busy doing quadratic equations and complex trigonometry and whatever else. That's what's going on in the wildebeest's head all day, and that's what they're concentrating on. And when they're running backwards and forwards, it's the wildebeest equivalent of counting on fingers. And that's my conclusion. Call it what you will, but it may also be some strange thinking, because I can't find a cheetah to save my life. Right, we're going to go and search for the last musketeer and possibly his girlfriend. Off you go, back all the way across to Djuma to join Tristan and the lovely Tingana.
Indeed, so Tingana is still just moving straight northwards. He seems to be on a serious mission, so at this stage I feel like he's just proving a point. He's coming out and he's starting to mark. At the end of the day, he doesn't want to be complacent in any way. He wants to be able to try and make sure that he's sending a message to any of these newbies that he is the dominant male, he is the one that is in charge of what is going on. And so as he goes, he's marking on almost every bush that he goes past, and he seems to have his nose down on the ground, as well as though he's picked up the scent of something and he's going with that as he moves around. The thing is though, is he's probably a little hungry as well, because he seems to be getting a bit distracted every now and then. If there's a movement around him, he stops and he listens and he looks. You can see there's a little bit of marking as well, spraying, tail up, and it's pretty much on every bush that overhangs near the edge of the road he kind of goes to and does it. So it's interesting kind of behavior, and like I say, it's been a long time since Tingana has been this side and has actually marked in these areas that we know of. Also, at the end of the day, we have had a lot of rain, and so he needs to go now after the rain and just re-establish his scent boundaries as he goes along. Toby, who's 15 years old, you're wondering if Tingana is fighting with these new male leopards that have been appearing. Well, it's possible, Toby. The thing is he doesn't have any cuts that I can see, or scrapes or scars or markings that would suggest that he's been in a fight. It looks more just like a little leg injury from maybe something like trying to tackle a large prey animal, or maybe potentially not coming out of a tree correctly or something like that. That's what it kind of looks like at the moment. It doesn't look like he's been in a situation where he's actually got bitten by something or clawed or anything like that. Now, there are a number of vehicles with us, so we need to be polite and let them through. I hope there's enough space for them. But so I think it's more a situation that he's in where he's basically at the moment is probably just been injured by something other than fighting, but I wouldn't be surprised if he has had 1 or 2 altercations or trying to kind of just establish what's going on. Now maybe he's picked up the scent now, and that's why he's on such a scent marking patrol. patrol and mission at the moment. So interesting to see how it goes. I'm not 100% sure whether or not he has come into contact with those new males. He seems to be spending less and less time to the west of us in Arethusa and those areas, and more to the east. And so, like I say, I'm not 100% sure whether or not he is going to be in a situation where he's met up with them yet. I would imagine, though, he's not going to be very happy about having them around at all. Right, so that's the two vehicles past us. Michael, no, so this is not the most pressure he's seen since he's been dominant. Remember, when he was a young male, he would have been pressured heavily, and even when he was trying to forge a territory of his own. But sort of midway through his dominant lifespan, if you want to call it, Tingana was completely pushed out by Anderson. So Tingana originally was not dominant in this area. He never used to come this far west. Mvula used to be all in this particular section, and prior to Mvula, the Jordan male, he was also around here. And so you had a situation where he kind of got pushed by Anderson. So he's relocated once before, and this is what happens with male leopards, is as new males come that are stronger, so it kind of pushes them and they move, and there's quite a lot of sort of play in their territories, if you so to speak. They don't hold an exact territory all the way through their dominant lifespan. They will move and kind of change up as they go along. So he has been pushed already, and this is just part and parcel, and he is starting to get older, and so younger males are going to start challenging. At the end of the day, it is a prime real estate, lots of females, and so he's going to have a tough time of it. Right, we're going to catch up with these other cars and with Tingana again, and try and worm our way back to the front. And while we do that, let's go across to Mr. Henry and find out where he's off to and what luck he's had this morning.
Very fine form for Tristan to have found Tingana again. We're sitting here with some Impalas, a lot of them. You can see they're a bit skitty as a result of the wind. We have not found any leopards, unfortunately. We have heard rumour of leopard in this area, though, between Chitwa and Djuma. So we'll see what we can find scratching about here. Clearly, either one of these chaps is going to bite it fairly soon from the claws and teeth of a leopard, or there isn't a leopard too close by. Oh, there goes a waterbuck at high speed. Now doing the passage. Very nice extended trot there, in fact, not so much passage. I'm just watching. Here comes another one. That one doing a collected trot. Very nice. Another one coming behind doing the extended canter and to halt. Very good. Superb dressage being displayed here by the waterbuck. They're not alarm calling at anything. And Nicky's just saying they look like the kudu did that Tristan had earlier on. So maybe there is a leopard around here somewhere. This is a roundabout where Hyena likes to hang around. Tundi sometimes. Well, Shadow and Barbara as well. Barbara's not her real name, don't worry. And just look at the clouds above us. That's actually fairly ominous. That's one of the most overused words at Safari Live. Ominous. Up there with epic. And what's interesting there is that they're moving in two directions, which just gives you an indication of the swirling nature of this storm. Phew! All right, we're going to sit here and figure out what's going on with the rain and the leopards and the impala. While we do that, let's go back to the Mara with Brent.
They all seem to be having a little nap before their next bout of fisticuffs. As I said, this is such incredible behavior. It's stuff that you read about and people dream of seeing, and we're lucky enough to be sitting right here bringing it to you live. So this has been going on since yesterday morning. Poor Mooji has been trapped by the Musketeers since then. Now, there's always a possibility he might join the coalition. It's unlikely, but that would be amazing, and probably never before recorded behavior. did hear some lions roaring behind us a little bit earlier. Some zebras walked past, had a few snorts at the cheetah and just kept moving. Hi, Kobe. Kobe is 15 years old and says, what caused all of this and why are they attacking one specific male? Well, Kobe, that male, Mooji, used to be the dominant male in this area. There was a coalition of two. No one is sure what happened to his brother. They are from the same litter. Miale, the female, is his mother, and I think the fact that there's a female in estrus and the high density of female home ranges that overlap in this particular area is what might have brought him back. So there he is. As I was chatting to the cheetah research, they said the last time they saw him was around Double Crossing and the Ridge. So he's moved back into this area. And of course, when he was last year in January, when there were two of them, his brother was with him. His brother just disappeared. We're not sure whether he was killed or they split. Most likely that he was killed, because once sibling coalitions are together, they're generally together for life. So he probably got killed by a lion or a leopard or something that we don't know exactly what happened. And he's come back into this area probably because there's been a female in estrus and he's wanting to mate, but he has encountered the Musketeers. And as I said, there is a missing Musketeer. It's not here. So the Musketeer coalition is 5 males and Mooji is not part of their coalition. That's why they're attacking him. Now, he could... Oh, the lion's roaring. Actually, we might even be able to find him in the binoculars. Sounds a bit closer than he was earlier. Let's have a quick look. See if we can spot that male lion. It definitely sounds like a male. Just having a quick look, see if I can spot the lion in the binos. Not yet, but it does sound like he's moving and moving closer to us. So this is the area where there's a coalition of 4 males, the ones that we saw beat up that poor male lion who's got sort of that very much looks like his mom gave him a bad haircut, very short sort of crew cut type mane. Looks like he's in the army, but he got severely beaten by four males here. I'll keep an eye out. He might wander down the valley around us. But as you can see, he's quite far away, the cheetah paying no attention to the lion roars. Debbie is wondering what kind of things could happen that could dissuade the cheetah from this slow but constant attack on Mooji. I think Mooji almost hopes that lions arrive, because then all the cheetah will be scattering, trying to watch out for themselves rather than harass poor Mooj. But a female could come by, although I think that female and the other male are down towards Balloon Crossing, so probably about 3 or 4 kilometers from here. But I said, it hasn't been the most... I've seen cheetah fight once before, and that was incredibly aggressive and went on for many hours. Where this has gone on for many hours, but it's not nearly as aggressive. Genia is putting through a very valid point. Is there any chance that they might lose interest and go hunting? I'm not sure. I think they'd have to be very, very hungry. I think they probably can last another day or two before the need for hunting arises. Listen to that. That is definitely not a purr of contentment. It's a purr of discord. We can hear the zebras as well that are around. Ling Fang says maybe the appearance of the lion will save poor Mooji. That is a strong possibility, because they would all scatter to try make sure that their own skins are safe, and we're going to have to wait it out and see what happens. And while everything's still quite calm here, let us zoot across to the other side of the Mara River to see what the hurdy-burdy McCurdy is up to.
This morning, Brent, I don't seem to be having a lot of luck driving around looking for lions, but maybe we'll get there eventually. There were so many in this area yesterday afternoon. It was the entire, well, not the entire marsh breakaways. We were missing the new cubs, and then we had a lioness stalk some warthogs just over here, and then there were 3 big male lions, but I haven't found any of them just yet, so we're still on a patrol at the moment. I'm just going to check a little bit of the marsh. We had a huge downpour of rain at like, what time was it? Maybe 11 o'clock last night, and it saturated the ground quite heavily, and particularly around here around the marsh, and it's not the nicest to drive around in. I've pretty much spent my time perpendicular to the road today already, just slipping and sliding about, not getting stuck. There's also no one to come and rescue me. There's no Jamie anymore. Although I reckon if I did get stuck, I could probably hear Brent's laughter from across the river. He'd roar with laughter so loudly. So yeah, so we're just going to keep looking. There's Buffalo. Hello, Buffalo. Have you seen a lion this morning? This one's a bit on the nervous side, as you can see. I don't know what you have to be nervous about. You're a big buffalo bull. You're enormous. I mean, even the lions don't want to mess with you here in the Mara, unless it's a big pride, so I think you're safe from us. And of course, he's only acting like this because he's all on his own. He's got no buddies to help keep him company or help him feel safe. No, he's just going to stare at us and run away. No. Just going to stare at us. You're so big. I really cannot believe that you're petrified out here. I mean, I would hate to be a buffalo in the Sabi sand, because we know that the Nkahumas love to eat buffalo. But these guys are fit and healthy. Unfortunately, Nikki, I only got about a third of what you said when it came through, and there was a bit of comment. The animal with regards to scent marking, and then I missed the name. Can I please have all of those things again? Sorry everybody, sometimes there are technical gremlins that prevent me from hearing anything. Okay, there we go. So I think it's a question from this. I apologize if I butchered your name. Unfortunately, it's quite muffled and I cannot hear. We're going to carry on as I answer this. And it's regards to how do lions have enough liquid to keep scent marking? And lions. Let me tell you the animal that I'm impressed by when it comes to marking territories. That is of a white rhinoceros, or even a black rhino. My my goodness, I've never seen so much urine in my entire life, and they just keep marching and marching and marching, and they don't stop. So they do drink large quantities of water. A lot of the food that they are also eating, or grass and leaves, does contain quite a bit of liquid, especially if they're grazing early in the morning and there's some dew on it. So I suppose just from that, but I'm not really sure. I've actually asked that question before, and I haven't really been able to get an answer from anybody as to how they keep producing so much urine. But perhaps it's ingrained into their bodies, and it's just a special feature that they have, because they have to mark territories, of course. We as humans, we don't mark territories because they have to mark territories to hold so much liquid. Hello, Giraffe. This is where the lioness was hunting yesterday. Lionesses, those two that hang around the marshy area, it was one of them. We know how they tease when it comes to chasing warthogs and not catching them. Now we've got a young male giraffe who is salivating. He had lots and lots of gob dribbling down from his mouth, which is also not uncommon to see with giraffe. We typically see them producing quite a bit of saliva. Now there's a theory around it that it actually helps with the tannins, and the heron is just about to fly over. There, it's a bit high for him. But he's not eating anything at the moment. Maybe he's salivating at the thought of breakfast. Just walking across the road. Thank you, Giraffe. Off we go. No, we are going to keep trying to find lions. Hello, beautiful tall creature. You're quite small though. He's a youngster. He's not fully grown just yet. He's still got quite a bit of growing to do. So I'm just doing a quick sort of sweep and just checking all these tree lines, because that lioness could pop out. I didn't hear any sounds of warthogs dying yesterday after she disappeared into the tree line, so I don't know. Okay, so we'll just keep going, and then we'll go check where I had the male lions. It was the Chitwa timber boys. The three of them were laying about not too far away from where we are, but it'll take some time to get there. And hopefully they'll still be there. They looked very lazy yesterday. It didn't look like they were going anywhere. Oh my gosh, it's giraffe heaven around here. Hi, I'll just keep going past because I've now given this giraffe a little bit of a fright. I'm so sorry I didn't see you behind the trees. Camouflage so well. Right, Jamie is also on the other side of the Amara River driving around, and it seems as though she's got hyenas on her brain.
We do indeed have hyenas, and even better than that, we've got a new hyena den in the Talek area around Balloon Crossing. This is so exciting. We've been desperately searching, well, I say desperately searching, to be honest, we're usually distracted by cheetah when we're around this particular spot, but I have been searching for a hyena den here, and I knew there had to be one, because we just saw so many hyenas and constantly calling and scent marking. There just had to be one, and now we finally found out where at least one of them is. I know absolutely nothing about this clan. I don't know if it would still be part of the Talek clan. I'm not 100% sure. But I can tell you that I'm really happy to see them, and hopefully we can enjoy some very special moments with tiny little hyena cubs. It might make the cheetahs' lives more difficult, because these hyenas must have moved here recently. I have driven past this spot so many times, first thing in the morning, at night. There's no way I would have missed it. It's right next to the main road. Good morning to Brent, who's wondering, just looking at our various assortment of predators today. Brent's wondering if all animals are colorblind. They're not, actually. In fact, most animals have a degree of color vision, and that includes predators. Predators do not see in just black and white. They don't just see in gray. Obviously, their eyesight is not as acute. They don't see colors as vividly as we do, and they only see certain wavelengths of light, and therefore certain colors. Oh, there's a hyena that's going to come in. Still a little bit far behind the vehicle for how it showed you, but it's going to come in. We might get some really nice greetings and some sound effects. So let's wait for it to come in here. And that playing with the tail is just too gorgeous. So, Brent, certain animals have evolved to have a higher spectrum of color vision. So primates, for example, human beings included. Color is very important to us. Birds see in vivid color, and insects also see certain spectrums of light that we cannot. So it just depends on the species of animals, and for something like a hyena or a lion, being able to see in the dark is more important than being able to see all of the colors. So no, they don't. Even this hyena is not colorblind. Oh, sweet, but it is gorgeous. Of all of the predators, the one with the best eyesight is the cheetah, the one that Brent is with. It's got a very high concentration of cells in its eye known as the focus point. Now, Ellie, you want to know if hyena are endangered. No, they're not. Oh, there's two hyenas that were... I thought they were going to come into the den, but now they've actually veered off a bit to the left. Ellie, no, hyenas are not endangered. At the moment, in terms of predator numbers, their numbers are pretty healthy, definitely healthier than that of the cheetah or even the lion. But that doesn't mean that they're not in some way threatened by human beings, unfortunately. So the constant encroachment into hyena's space is there's some beautiful balloons in the background as well, is a constant threat to any wild animal, and that includes hyenas. It just so happens that hyenas are very good at adapting, and very good at lurking around towns and villages and making use of the scraps of that sort of human habitation. But yes, they are still potentially threatened. Interestingly enough, somebody once correlated the drop in vulture numbers to the drop in hyenas, because hyenas are not crunching bones, and therefore vultures were not getting the calcium. Now, Patsy, you want to know if female hyenas scent mark? They do. They do. So, as we know with female hyenas, in this particular case, in spotted hyenas, very rare in mammals. The female is bigger, stronger, and more dominant than the male. Both male and female scent mark, and they both possess the anal glands in order to do so. So the way that a hyena scent marks is by pasting on a blade of grass. They produce an anal paste that they put on blades of grass. So yes, they both do it, although certainly in the case of territorial responsibility, it's often the males that shoulder the burden, especially when it comes to calling. Okay, as our hyenas wander off, I'm going off in search of this mating pair of cheetah, because I've only ever seen that once in my life. Off you go, back all the way across to James, who has arrived at beautiful Chitwa Dam.
Yes, here I am at beautiful Chitwa waterhole with an egret. The western great egret, aka the great white egret. And it is, of course, one of the heron species, and he's having a wonderful time fishing here. He's managed to catch himself many frogs, and we've been sitting with him now probably for about 15 minutes, I guess, and he's just been tremendously confiding with us and sharing his life. Now, there are a number of different egret species, and what's interesting to me is that I bet you they will eat just about exactly the same thing, but they'll be slightly different sizes. So this chap will eat largely fish, frogs, insects, and reptiles. And I just want to go back to, let's say the grey heron, which is of a similar size. And they will eat fish, mollusks, worms, and insects, also small rodents and birds. So maybe this is more a, what do we call it, a piscivore, and I'm trying to think, amphibivore, perhaps, amphibivore. Likes to eat frogs and fish, and probably not quite so many mammals and that sort of thing. So while there will be a definite overlap between what the heron species eat, they will all be slightly separated. Now, it was a long time since I've heard from this person, Vulpine Wolf Girl. Hello, and thank you for getting hold of us again. You say, are there any birds that exhibit cannibalism? I'm trying to think I imagine that there must be, and I imagine that if you were to put a dead vulture in front of a pile of vultures, you'd find that they would probably eat their kin. It's normally scavengers that will that will cannibalize each other. So lions do it, hyenas do it from time to time. And I'm sorry, the game drive radio has now exploded into my ear. And so I think, yeah, you'll probably find some birds will do it. I doubt one of these would do it. We certainly saw a heron eating a weaver the other day. I'm not sure you could describe that as cannibalism any more than you could describe us eating a cow as cannibalism. You know, they're as distantly related. So would a great white egret eat another great white egret? I think it's unlikely. Would a vulture eat another vulture? Yes, I think almost certainly. He's catching either tiny little fish or little frogs. Now that water is almost completely opaque. Or is it the opposite of opaque? I'm trying to remember my English here. Anyway, it's very murky, the water. The bird can hardly see it, and ties in nicely with Spectra's question how the bird stays so balanced while it is shoving its neck forward at such a speed. Spectra, its feet and its beak work in tandem. The feet are very sensitive. They sense any sort of movement, and the beak almost always strikes straight down to where the feet have felt movement. So it's able to balance like that because its feet are widely splayed and they give it very good purchase. And you can see that there's a lot of weight to the back of the bird. Its head is really a very small part of its mass, and so when it flicks its head forward like that, there's a lot of weight to counterbalance it at the back. I really like them. I think they're a kind of, all of the egret species, they're a sort of simple bird. No fanfare about them at all, just plain white, and they get on with it, and they're ultimately elegant in their simplicity. All right, somebody who I suppose might be described as relatively elegant in his simplicity is Scott Dyson. I'm not sure what he'd have to say to that.
Thanks, James. I'm feeling very elegant this morning. James is a real joker, as I'm sure a lot of you know. If you don't know, it means you're a new viewer. And brace yourself, because James will make you laugh. It's just a matter of time. Now, we have been backtracking a large herd of buffalo, whose tracks we initially found about 1.5 miles away from here, and those tracks were running. Now, we assumed that they were running because they were scared of lions. So what we've decided to do is backtrack the tracks in the hope that we will find lions eating a buffalo. Now, we haven't had any joy yet, and furthermore, what's further interesting is that the buffalo tracks are now walking. They're no longer running. So who knows what gave the buffalo a fright? We haven't found any predator tracks, so we're guessing they possibly heard lion audio nearby, and that's what caused them to start running. And we're just carrying on in the hope that we'll find something interesting along the way. We are also moving into an area where possibly we could find Hosanna, a young male leopard. He's been frequenting an area that we traverse called Chitwa, which is just to the south and east of where we are now, and he does come into this kind of corner of Djuma. I'm told he likes to spend time here, so hopefully we'll find him. Here we've found a little mobile, well, not a mobile health spa because this doesn't move anywhere, but this is a health spa for any of the large animals like buffalo and elephant that move through the area, possibly rhino as well. And you'll see little bits of mud that are caked onto this post, and animals will use this to rub up against once they've had a mud wallow. And we've got a beautiful little mud wallow just up ahead of us here. So I'm guessing that could be buffalo. A lot of the animals like to rub up against posts in order to get ectoparasites called ticks off them. And imagine if you didn't have hands to pluck the ticks off, how frustrating it must be when they cover you up, cover your body. You can also see a big elephant track. Elephants also like wallowing. It's not the biggest elephant track, actually. It's a fairly small one. It's about a size 13. I'll say I'm a size 9. So I'd guess that's about a size 13. And a big elephant track will be about 4 times the size of that. Very good. Sounds like you guys are having an incredible morning with the spotted cats, Cheetah up in the Mara and Leopard down here on Djuma. And you'll be glad to know Tristan is still with Tingana, so why don't you go and see what's going on there.
We are indeed. Tingana has now decided it's time to have a bit of a rest, although he kind of every now and then pops his head up and just has a little bit of a look around, but you can see, there we go, back down again. I think he's obviously had a long night of moving around, because he was walking and then all of a sudden he just decided to flop down and has been in that position now for the last, I'd say, 10-15 minutes, and he hasn't really moved at all. So I think he's found his little resting place for the day. I don't think he's going to go too much further than where he is right now. The thing is that it's interesting, because he was, the interesting part about it was that he was just moving, and all of a sudden he just flopped down on his side, and that was the end of it. So I don't know why. Maybe, like I say, he's been moving all morning and we just caught him at the end. So, William, I mean, who's all the way from Oregon, I'm not sure. He could be sending a message. I somehow think this has got nothing to do with Hyena, but more to do with this unknown male that was seen here a few days ago mating with the Egret dam young female. This is an area where they were. So they came from the west, moved past Treehouse Dam, up to Philemon's Dip, and then back that way. And so this is an area where that male would have walked. And so I think it's more that than anything else. I think Hyena is not that much of a threat. We know Tingana was with Hyena 2 days ago or 3 days ago, and there was no fighting or anything like that. He was just watching Shadow and Hyena from the distance and didn't really seem too perturbed by them. So I don't think it's Hyena. I think he still knows that he's much bigger than Hyena and that he can dominate Hyena, but when there's new big males that are mating, that is a major threat to him, and that's probably what's fueling him to start coming this way. At the end of the day, where he is now is not out of his range. When I first started here at Djuma, this was well within Tingana's area, and we used to see him a lot around the Treehouse Dam, Shibamo area, and it's only recently that he's been kind of shying away from this section and spending more time to the east and the south. Now, there could be 2 reasons for that. One might be the fact that Shadow and Cub have moved further to the east and are spending a lot more time around the Mulawati section of Little Gari. Tundi has also moved to the Mulawati section of Djuma, and so his 2 offspring that he's currently kind of overseeing, and even though he doesn't play any part in actually fathering those 2 offspring, he still needs to keep a territory safe, and he knows that he'll have offspring in this area, and so maybe that's causing him just to shift slightly and to protect that section to make sure that both of those offspring are surviving. So it could be also part of it. It's an interesting thing either way. The dynamics here at the moment are really amazing. White Lady, you're saying that we've seen Hyena scent marking lately. Is he doing it in a serious way? Well, I don't really know if he can rationalize being serious or not. At the end of the day, he's marking, and that instinct to start carving out a piece of area that he needs to protect from others is started, and he's definitely lifting his tail and spraying, much like what we saw Tingana do this morning. I haven't as yet seen him mark with his face, so we saw Tingana just now jumping up into the bush and kind of wiping his face onto the leaves and things. I haven't seen Hyena do that yet, and I haven't seen him also scrape his back legs while urinating just yet, but the instinct is there, and so I suppose, yes, it is serious. He is doing it to try and kind of leave a chemical signature. There's no other reason why he would be spraying up against a tree. Remember, when he was a cub, he would have gone and just squatted on a piece of grass somewhere. It wouldn't have really mattered. Now he's purposely going to iconic landmarks on the edges of areas that he's walking, so a big leadwood, let's say, or a big tree that's right next to the road. He's going to that, and he's then lifting his tail and spraying. So that's a definite chemical signature mark that he's leaving, and so he, I suppose, is being serious about it. think for now, though, Tingana still kind of sees him as a smallish male and knows that he's in no way a threat for now. But these new males coming in could trigger Tingana to get much more amped up, and that might mean that he pushes Hosana a little bit more. Tony, you're wondering if a male would retire himself to avoid himself being overthrown. Well, no, not really. I mean, no male at the end of the day wants to lose area where he knows there's food, water, potential mating rights. The instinct for any of these animals out here is to mate as long as they can, to keep as best territory as possible, and to have access to food and water. So giving that up voluntarily is not ideal. What you will find, though, and Mvula is a prime example of this, is that some males are very, very clever in that they know that their chance of survival means that they have to stop being territorial, and they have to stop marking and calling and kind of just fly under the radar, otherwise they're going to be killed. And so Mvula's done that very, very cleverly. I suppose in a way he has given up territory in order to survive, and so he's now become this nomadic individual that kind of just moves around. And as the big boys like Tingana and Anderson and all these newer males are around, so Mvula just kind of ghosts between them and keeps himself quiet. Now he's all of a sudden just kind of piqued his interest. Something has piqued his interest. I don't know what it is. He's looking in the direction of where we heard those elephants earlier this morning when we first found those lion tracks, and I wonder if maybe he's picked up some sort of indication of something moving around. It will be interesting to know. I'm just looking up the road. We're quite close to a road at the moment, so I was looking up the road just to see if anything was potentially crossing, but it doesn't seem like it. Tingy, you're looking very serious today, boy. I suppose it's all about business this morning, marking territory and making sure he imposes himself. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? So if you ever wanted to know the spot pattern for Tingana, there you go. You can see that he's got 5 spots on the right side of his muzzle. And so the spots that we use, for those of you that have ever asked about spot patterns, are those little spots that just sit above the whisker line. So there's the whiskers that kind of have those black bars. And so Shamson, you were wondering about the spot pattern. So you can see you've got whiskers that come out of those kind of black lines that run along his muzzle, and then just above that there are spots. Now there's 2 spots close together that go up towards his eyes, and then there's 1, 2 next to that, and then 1 little spot on top of those 4 where the fly is. So there's the 5th spot on top. So that makes 5 on his right side, and then on his left would be a different set of spots. And that's how we use spot patterns when we talk about them, and we say, let's say it's a 3-3 male or a 5-3 male. It's because we're talking about those little spots, those IDing features just above the whiskers that are unique on every leopard. So even though you might have a leopard that will be a 3-3, the arrangement of those spots is going to be very different, and so you can always use them as a reliable way of determining whether or not they are different individuals. The other things that we will use is around the sort of eye area, and you can see the fly is super interesting. Let's see if it goes down towards there we go. I thought it might happen. I was wondering if it would get any further because it was kind of going where the whiskers are, and the whiskers are very sensitive, so they would have picked up the vibration of that fly moving. Had the fly come round the front of the whiskers, you might find that it would have got towards his mouth and would have been able to go to where it wanted to go, which is along the lip line and the gum line. And the reason for that is because those flies are looking for moisture within the lip line and to sequester the moisture from Tingana himself. Right, we're going to sit with him a while longer, see if he does stir. I don't think he will, but if he does, we will be here to surely catch it. And while we do that, I believe Scotty D is still on his walk, and I think he's got something that might take off at any second.
Yes, it may take off any second, but it's probably not going to because it's busy drinking my tasty blood. Can you? That's fascinating. Well, there we go. Now you guys know why Tingana is getting frustrated with these flies. I've been lying here patiently watching some snails make love while the fly was making sweet love to my calf, sucking my blood. And quite painful, actually. It's fascinating how such a small animal can inflict so much pain onto us. Now, as you can see, these snails are in the throes of a passionate moment, and it's hard to be certain who is doing what here. Snails are hermaphrodites, meaning both of these individuals will contain both male and female sexual organs, and in emergencies they can even reproduce asexually, just with themselves. But what's further interesting, and what I find fascinating, is that the females can carry sperm within their body for up to 2 years. So it may be a long time before these two mate again. Now, what's also tricky to be certain of here is which one is doing what, who is delivering the sperm, and I'm told it's usually the smaller snail, which would be, I'm guessing this one, a fairly similar size. That would be the males, and the bigger ones would be acting as the females when they are mating. Now, these giant African land snails are hugely, hugely invasive animals. They are in the top 20 of invasive species around the world, so they can cause huge problems, mainly for agriculture around the world. You'll probably find that a lot of you have these in your home countries, even though they do not belong there. They are very widely spread across the planet, but their home range initially was in and around East Africa, Mozambique and Sudan, and they've spread throughout Africa and across the globe. And the big reason why they have managed to spread so successfully is because they are good at making babies. So now they are mating, and what will happen on a general year for a land snail is that they will lay about 5 or 6 clutches of eggs, usually around 200 eggs at a time, and those eggs hatch fairly quickly. I think, if I remember correctly, within about a month's time those eggs will hatch, and within as quick as 6 months the youngsters will have been fully grown. And that was a fact that I only found out quite recently. I didn't realize they grow so quickly. I mean, it's hard to believe that from a tiny little snail they could be fully grown within 6 months. They can also live for quite a long time, up to about 5 or 6 years, if the going is good. When the going's not good, what they can do is they can just cover up. Well, they'll just suck themselves into their shell, and then they'll create a bit of a kind of a mucus membrane that seals them within their shell, and they can estivate for as long as 3 years, just lying dormant, waiting for better times. So a highly specialized, highly effective little animal, this African land snail, and I'm hoping that we managed to find you some more interesting little critters. But for now, you're going to be heading all the way back up to the Masai Mara to see some iconic animals of Africa.
The Musketeers has creeped right up to the back of Mooji. They're still constant sort of growling, and every now and then the Musketeer will lift his paw, causing Mooji to yelp almost, sort of, please don't hit me, please don't hit me. But it's calmed down again a little bit now. There hasn't been any big scuffles yet. Just that constant. Now, that cheetah fight that I know about from when I was a teenager went on for 8 hours. Now, that was a lot more serious, but with bouts of peace like this, this has been going on for longer than 8 hours so far, so this could go on for even longer. Tristan says, I would have thought finding the female to mate with would have been a higher priority than fighting with the male. Well, one of the coalition members is apparently with her already. So in that way, the sort of Musketeers are winning. But, well, you know about men and their turf. As soon as there's another male on their turf, they tend to get quite upset. Now, in these times of quiet, it can kick off almost out of nothing. A leaf blows the wrong way, sending them into sort of a little tussle or tumble. As I said, it hasn't been too aggressive yet. Now, the cheetah researcher, Elena, was saying, oh, imagine he joins. Maybe he'll join. And we don't know what's going to happen. This type of behavior is never seen. That's what makes it so incredible. Who knows? Maybe Mooji will become the 6th musketeer. Or, as soon as he gets a chance, he's going to gap it for the hills. It's all sort of calming down at the moment, which is sort of to be expected as the morning gets warmer. We're still definitely not going to move a muscle. This is exactly where we should be, right next to these cheetahs, seeing what happens next. Steve, who's just joined, is saying this Mooji looks younger than the others. Is that correct? I don't know, Steve. I'd say he actually looks quite a bit. He's a bit bigger. He was born in 2014 to the female cheetah called Miale, and there were 2 males that survived out of that litter. And in January of this year, his coalition mate, his brother, disappeared. We don't know what happened to him. And he used to operate in this area with his coalition mate. Now, the Musketeers have moved in. Now, the Musketeers, no one is 100% sure exactly where all of them come from, how they're related, etc. They are doing genetic tests at the moment, and as soon as we get that information, we'll let you know. All I know is one of the Musketeers comes all the way from Sopa in Tanzania, and was seen there by himself when he started moving around. So, we think that maybe the other 2 pairs might be related, maybe 3 of them related, maybe one's not. We don't know, and until we can get that genetic testing, we're not going to know. Who knows, maybe Mooji's a half brother or has a similar genetic line to some of them. But while we wait to see what happens with the cheetah, it sounds like Scott Dyson has been whispering to serpents.
We've got a snake and I don't want it to disappear, so I've just flicked it out into the open so you can see it. It's panicking a little bit, understandably, because we're very large animals. Ooh. And I don't want to bother it too much. So it's always a fine balance between showing your animals and interfering too much with their day. That little black snake, I'm fairly certain, is called a burrowing asp. And if it were to bite you, you'd probably lose a portion of your body. They've got cytotoxic venom, and I actually know somebody who made a fatal error that a lot of people, not a fatal error, but a bit of a rookie error that a lot of people in the bush make, especially people that think they know what snakes they're looking at. That can be confused with the mole snake, which is completely harmless. The burrowing asp looks just like the mole snake, and interestingly, has a funny kind of a side tooth. So even if you were to catch it correctly, grab it behind the back of the neck, if it just tilts its head to the side, it's got this side fang that can puncture you. And that's what my friend did. He caught it perfectly, necked it is the terminology, caught it perfectly behind the head, and then all it did was turn its head sideways and it punctured his trigger finger, and now he is left with a stump like that. So I'm fairly certain that's what it was. Well done, Herbie, for spotting it. He stopped dead in his tracks, and it's always the most exciting thing when you're walking through the bush, and then all of a sudden, Herbie stops, or anyone stops, and you're like, what has he seen? You start looking around, and then we notice it was that little snake. Yay! Finally, a snake. First snake of the season for me, down in Djuma. Hopefully we'll be able to find you more, and hopefully we'll also be able to show you better visuals. But as you could tell, that guy was not too interested in hanging around. So if they don't want to be on camera, we should not force them to, and we will let them be. And happy that it slithered away unscathed. Very, very good. Now, we're going to continue moseying along. And while we do that, we'll be sending you back to Tristan and Tingana. Let's see if the flies are still giving him a hard time.
Well, indeed. I think Tingana doesn't really care, though, at the moment. The flies are all over his muzzle and they're on his ears, but you can see every now he flicks them. But that's part and parcel of being a leopard and having these kind of issues, but he seems to be super relaxed. In fact, that's the first time he's lifted his head since you last were with us, which is quite nice. The thing about, and the reason why we're sitting here, even though he's very fast asleep, is that the conditions today are overcast, they're grey, they're cloudy, and the chance of him getting up and moving moving is quite real. At the end of the day, Tingana, we know, is a cat that does move around a lot, and so even though he seems quite sleepy, anything could wake him up at any point, and so it's worth just sitting around with him. We often don't get long sightings with him unless he's on a kill, and so if we get a chance just to spend a bit of time, we might as well. But he is very sleepy, and he is taking it very easy at this stage, and he's found himself a rather nice little spot. He's quite well kind of protected here. He's got sort of vegetation all around him, and he camouflages incredibly well, so I think he's going to have a nice quiet day if he ends up staying where he is. You can see there's a nice sort of bank of grass behind him there, so he's quite well sort of tucked in underneath that tree. It'll be nice and shady if the sun does break out, and so a perfect little place for a leopard to have a really good nap. Now, I'm quite happy for Scott that he found the snake. I know Scott loves the snakes, and I was actually just thinking about them this morning as to why we haven't seen too many. Now, I'm just trying to see. I thought I saw a cuckoo, but it's actually not. It was just a starling, so I was going to ask Ferry to go and show the cuckoo, but in the meantime we'll just stay on. So, Ferry, Poople, Snoot, you want to know how big Tingana's area is? It's difficult to say. I mean, it's an ever-changing situation, and their territories do sort of expand and contract as competition comes in and out. Currently, I would say that his movement, from what we've seen over the last few months, is he's probably accessing at the moment, I would say, about 3,000 to 4,000 hectares, so 6,000 to 8,000 acres roughly. That's about as much as he's moving around in at the moment. It's slightly smaller than it used to be. He used to go all the way into Arathusa, Simbambili, a little bit into Elephant Plains, and then he would go down into Hoffman's, Ilgari, Chitwa, Cheetah Plains, even a bit into Mala Mala, north into Buffels Hook, Torchwood, all of those areas, whereas now he seems to be kind of restricted to the Buffels Hook, Torchwood a little bit because quarantine's there, Chitwa, Little Gari, Vessels, those kind of areas. So he's kind of got a much more narrow band that runs north-south. Anyway, while we kind of watch him groom away and see if he's going to start maybe getting up, sometimes when they groom like this, it could be a good indication. Let's go back across to James Henry, who I think is around Chitwa somewhere, and maybe he's got some sort of sign of something interesting to show all of you.
Well, we are still around Chitwa. We did a big loop down to the south of Chitwa and a little bit beyond by mistake, and we're now back on the northern side of the dam with a whole lot of frivolous impala. There is a lot of frivolous activity going on around here, much sort of cavorting, leaping about the place, some stotting, and there's a general holiday air about the place, as there must be about most places in South Africa at the moment, of course. Come the 16th of December, pretty much the country will shut down. That, of course, is roughly, let's call it 36 hours after we complete our National Geographic television show, Nat Geo Wild, 10 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. Big Cat Week special. We are in Big Cat Week now, of course. This is Big Cat Week. I have failed to find a big cat in Big Cat Week. But I did find a baby impala. Very difficult to find, you know, not many of them. Only about 50,000 or so. Oh, apparently playing impala not nearly as nice as playing elephants, so we're going to go across to playing elephants now.
The absolute best time. Oh no, did you fall down? You fall down. Oh no, how are you going to get back up again? Now if gravity's against you, the slope is against you. It's okay, there you go. See? Mommy coming to check up, make sure all is okay. Yes, well, you will climb on top of the older sibling. Your sibling is not a jungle gym. The poor older elephant, I don't know if it's a sibling or a cousin, but all it wants to do is have a nice rest up against the termite mound, well not termite mound, sandbank. This little baby elephant is not having any of it. patiently watched over by the adults, used to the antics of youngsters. There you go. It's basically using it as a stepping stone. Oh goodness. Oh goodness. Oh dear. Almost. Yes, just go stand there. Oh. He's just having the best day ever. Oh. Can't you imagine what it must feel like on that poor elephant's ears? Oh, face plant. So overexcited. Get up. Come on, get up. If you don't get up, I'm going to climb on you. There's something so precious about the innocence of little baby elephants having fun. There you go. Adults stepping in a little bit, perhaps to calm it down slightly, although I don't think it's working. Oh goodness. Are you practicing your acrobatics? Oh! Oh! Oh dear, now what? Lots of you loving the fact that this little one's got a trunk flapping about that, uh-oh, clearly is not within its control. Oh dear, now you're going to get squodged. Oh, there we go. You're very lucky that you've got such a tolerant older cousin or sibling. Didn't lie flat on you. It's so cute. Oh no. No, it's not as much fun now, is it? It's not nearly as much fun. Yes, grab on with your trunk. Oh, it's not working so well, is it? Oh dear, okay. Oh, almost, you'll get there. Yes, little boy. Adults just want to play in the sand. That's why they were trying to push everyone out of the way. It's obviously the best spot for a sand bath. Coating their skin obviously helps to... face full of sand for the little one. Obviously helps to protect them from the sun. Gets rid of all of those niggling itches and scratches and parasites that might have settled on their skin. There's the oldest elephant by far. She's the one on the right. MJ, you say that this is the best and you say thank you. You really don't need to thank me. I'm more than happy to sit and watch something like this all day. Might not have found mating cheetahs, but we have found this, and this is just as special. By the way, for your bird lists, the birds at the back are yellow-throated sand grouse. Just in case you were wondering, there's lots of them about. But we're not going to stop watching the ellies for them. Not right now. It was just too gorgeous. And what makes it even more special is that you don't see very many elephants on this side of the river, or at least this particular part of this side of the river. I should just probably be more clear. There's so little grass for them to eat that for the most part they tend to spend tend to spend their time, goodness, that sentence went wrong, in other parts of the Mara. Okay, as gorgeous as this is, Brent has got an example of truly unusual cheetah behavior. Let's head across to him.
Well, it's all hotting up here a bit. Mooji's jumped up, he smacked D'Artagnan on the bum, and then defended himself against this cheetah to the right. He managed to just leap out of the way of flying claws. Let's see, is he going to try and lie down again? There's that call that I said, it's almost like begging, please don't attack me. You will hear a camera going as well. We're not the only people here. Elena from the Maramero Cheetah Project is here as well. Welcome everyone, this is absolutely incredible. We are with 4 members of the male cheetah coalition called the Musketeers, and they've cornered a lone male called Mooji. There he is. That's the lone male who's been cornered by 4. He's trying to defend himself. This has been going on for more than 24 hours now. This is 100% live from the Masai Mara in Kenya. Listen to those vocalizations. The lone cheetah is almost begging with that little chirp, saying, please don't attack me. So the one on the right seems to be trying to bite his tail, or whack his tail with his foot. Now Louise says, this is really nice, this is incredible, almost never seen behavior. We are incredibly lucky to be able to bring this to you 100% live. Now, I've been following these cheetah now for 2 full days. There you go, little attack at the paw, at the tail. So it's early morning here in the Mara, and as I say, these cheetah have been surrounding the lone male since yesterday morning. If you want to ask any... Oh, what's going on? It almost looks like the lone male is trying to submit to one of the Musketeers. He might be trying to join the coalition. Hi Valerie. Valerie says cheetahs are my favorite animal. Now Valerie, this is really special, very seldom seen behavior. Now this could go on for another day or 2 as well. So that lone male is using the bush as a bit of protection from the other males. It means he doesn't have to defend all sides all the time. It seems to be a bit of a standoff. Guys, I'm just sounds that these cheetah are making. Now Kelly says, I love the way they squeak. Cheetah do have such strange vocalizations. That little squeak or chirp is actually almost begging. It sounds to me to be a submissive sound. Oh, it looks like we're going to try attack from a different angle. So there's even infighting amongst the coalition males. Regina was asking how far do we have to pay to stay safe. Regina, with Cheetah we're completely safe. We're only about 15 feet away from them at the moment. But we're just going to stick on the Cheetah for now as the action is hotting up. It's been going like this for 2 days. Attack, standoff, wait, attack, standoff, wait. Isaiah is wondering, are males dominant in the cheetah world? Well, cheetah have quite a strange social setup, Isaiah. Males will have large home ranges. Generally, the best male territories have overlapping female home ranges. But males will fight normally with other males and will bully females, especially when it comes to time of mating. But I would say they're probably a little bit dominant just based on size, although a female cheetah can give a very good account of herself when she doesn't want any attentions from the males. So for those of you who might have joined us a little late on this action broadcast, we have got 4 male cheetah that are from the Musketeer coalition. The 5th one is apparently off mating with a female further to the west of us. And in the center of this drama that's unfolding right now is that male cheetah there. His name is Mooji, and he has unluckily been cornered by 4 males of the Musketeers, and they've been attacking him on and off for since yesterday morning that I know of. Initially it was only 2, then it was 3, now it's 4 males surrounding him. He could be trying to join the coalition. He lost his brother, he's a coalition member, in January. But whether the 4 males will accept him into their ranks is going to be difficult to see. We're just going to have to wait to see how it plays out. Sarah says, I hope the lonely guy gets away. Sorry, my name is Brent Leo Smith and this is live. Oh, quickly back across, Craig. I just thought they were going to try come through the bush again. Now, so the lonely guy might not want to get away. He might have had some opportunities. He might want to join this coalition of males. It makes a lot more sense to be part of a group. You have a lot better success rate at hunting, as well as defending a larger territory. We seem to be in one of those little lulls at the moment, and again the fight can kick off at any second. You can see Mooji's neck hair is raised. Oh, it looks like he might try to make a run for it. So there's some infighting amongst the coalition members happening as well, which is not unusual. They could be fighting for dominance. I thought Mooji might make a dash for it while those two were fighting. It looked like he thought there was a half gap to run out of, but it was quickly closed. He's wondering how long can they go without food and water. Food, probably 7 days or so. Water, the cheetah are not 100% water reliant. They'll drink when it's available. And normally they can survive off the blood of their prey from a moisture point of view, but here in the Mara they do drink probably every day because water is readily available. We went through a period of a lot of calm, and now it's suddenly kicked off and got more serious again. Deborah is wondering how can we tell them apart. Deborah, with great difficulty. For me, I've spent a lot of time with the coalition of 5, but yesterday was the first time I've seen this male, but his eyes seem to be a little bit more slanted, and if we look on his, just below his shoulder, a little bit lower, Craig, down his leg, there we go. You can see there's a very distinct sort of line of spots across there, and there's one that's sort of shaped like a little bit of a heart. That's quite a distinguishing one on his left side. So that's a really nice way to tell him apart from the other cheetah. See, on the far left there's a little spot. But yes, so you look at the individual spots. Sometimes they have different head shapes and eye shapes, but generally the spots on the legs or on the tail are the most reliable way of telling cheetah apart. Now it seems to have calmed down a little bit here. As I said, it's already been going on for well over 24 hours, but we're not going to move. We're going to sit here, and if the action sparks up again, we will be right here to bring it to you. Actually, it's sparking up right now, so let's just wait a little bit longer. See, that's what you never know what's going to happen next. This is 100% live from one of Africa's most iconic wildlife destinations, the Masai Mara. Just wait a few minutes to see if that cheetah on the left lies down. And there we go. I think the status quo has been set for now. As I said, yesterday they were fighting maybe once every 10 minutes. Now it's moving to once every half an hour. They are getting tired and fatigued. It is a battle, and they are starting to get hungry. So who knows whether today they might leave poor Mooji and go off hunting, or will they continue to harass this poor single male. Now, of course, if anything happens, we will go live immediately. So remember to keep a lookout on that notifications, because you never know what's going to happen next, especially when you're live in the African bush. So from myself and my cameraman Craig, hopefully we'll see you very shortly with the next bout of action. Okay guys, we're going to sit here and make sure and to check what's going on here. But while we play the patience game with the cheetahs, let's cruise across to the other side of the Mara to see what the hurdy-burdy McCurdy is up to.
Brent, I'm not having much luck at all. It seems as though the sunrise safaris are not on my side anymore. It's like it's only the afternoon safaris where I seem to be winning with cats. All 11 lions I saw in the space of 3 hours yesterday evening have vanished, and I've checked everywhere for them. So they just must be out of range, down in a lugger somewhere, in the forest, just in an area that we can't easily access them. So that's okay, that's just one of those things. I haven't given up just yet though, because I really need to see some little lion cubs. I don't know about all of you, I'm sure you would like to, but it has been the last time, oh no, I talk nonsense. I have seen little teeny tiny lion cubs, those ones that I saw on the other side of the river, only once though, and then prior to that was the Kuhuma cubs, the new ones, but very, very sad that those little guys are hiding away from me. I wonder how long it's going to take before they reveal themselves. They do this to me all the time though, it's quite funny how the animals like to tease me. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking for gatherings of cars, but the vehicles that I have passed this morning, they haven't had much luck either in terms of finding cats. We did find we've seen lots and lots of hyena this morning, and also plenty of vultures that have been roosting up in the trees in the distance. And the other day we were talking about where have all the vultures gone, and I was saying how they just move around depending on, you know, the availability of food. So I wonder if what's brought them back. We'll hopefully see them on the way back home a little bit later. They're up near the escarpment, all just resting out. Maybe it's all just adults with juveniles too. That's a possibility. Ha 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 ha. Ages, hyena, you said that any more mud today? No, not yet. Although, and no, actually, the amount of mud that is sprayed up the side of the cars and onto myself and Archie and the camera this morning has been truly spectacular. This area got soaked last night. It was actually quite a large amount of rain. I think we need to get a rain gauge, but the only problem is we could put it at camp, and half the time it doesn't rain up on the escarpment when it's pouring down here, so it wouldn't be very accurate. We need to find somewhere where we can sneakily just tie one and just leave it. So no mud. I'm going to try and avoid diving in the mud as much as I enjoy it. I do. I don't mind it. We'll try to keep out of it. My shoes don't seem to be enjoying the mud as much as I do, and I only have my big boots and my veldschoen, my fellies, and I'm living in Kenya at the moment, so I don't want to be wrecking my favorite shoes in the whole world, especially because I can't just pop to the shops and buy another pair. It's not quite as easy as that. Now the Topi police what are the Topi police staring at? Look at all of them here. Something's up. Something is up. All the Topi, they're moving closer to that thicket, but they're staring at something, and sometimes the antelope species will move closer. So I'm going to move around and try and see if I can find what's hiding behind those trees and scaring the Topi. Brent's cheetah seem to be on the move.
Well, no, you're not with Brent and his cheetah. You're with Scott back in South Africa, and we've got a herd of elephants. We're on foot, and we need to be a little bit cautious here. There's a lot of elephants around us. I can hear branches breaking in about 180 degrees circumference. The wind is also swirling. But in general, it's in our favor. It's blowing gently kind of towards us. Another thing is that there's quite a few young elephants that are acting very playfully, and we don't want them to come running into us and get a big fright. But I think for now, everything's okay. And it's one of my most exciting and favorite things to do on foot is spend time with elephants, because they are one of the most incredible animals to view, but they are also incredibly dangerous, especially a breeding herd, which is what we've got around us with lots of youngsters and their very, very protective mothers.